Welcome, beautiful people. So this is Me Talks AI Edition, Part 5. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Ah, I've had a little slight bit to drink tonight, so I do feel a bit merry, but it's all good. Right, so this is Part 5, okay? I've spent probably about, oh my gosh, probably about, oh my gosh. I spent about maybe 2 days talking to Chat GTP. I believe it's Chat GPT, Luke. Get it right. So, spent about 2 days. Now, has that been in like continuous? No, it hasn't. It's probably been over a couple of weeks. So, probably about 48 hours, maybe over 3, 4 weeks. I can't really remember, to be honest with you. But it's good because I can now give you a complete summary. So I'm not just coming on here asking random questions and blah blah blah. I've spent a considerable amount of time getting to know Chat GPT, it getting to know me, and what we're going to do is we're going to kind of look over a story. Let's look at the story right now. So this story is of a man that basically used Chat GPT, and because he was a vulnerable, I can't say young adult because I don't think he was young. I'm not going to go over it again, to be honest with you guys. I'm trying to figure out, the guy's precise age. He wasn't young. However, it's an interesting conversation that me and Chat GPT had because I wanted to know, was Chat GPT responsible for the man's death? And we had a ridiculously long conversation about it. Let's go to the top. Let's scan to the top, guys. So we had a very, very, very long conversation about this. Yeah. Um, and we're going to kind of go over some of it today. Because it's important. For example, when I do my fake book news, I always have an introduction, a little script ready, just to let people know as to why I use Chat GPT, and has nothing to do with replacing a friend or replacing a lost girlfriend or whatever alternative uses some vulnerable people may be using it for. I personally use it because it helps improve my vocabulary. Sometimes I'm asking Chat GPT questions, and because it speaks so fast and it uses certain technical terms, I don't always get it. But after I have finished my video, I then go back to it and I say, right, let me kind of break it down scientifically because I do suffer from autism. Sorry, not autism. So, hold up. I am neurodivergent. I do believe I suffer from a form of dyslexia and ADD, attention deficit disorder. So I do have to slowly absorb things when people tell me. Do you understand? But that's what I use it for. It helps to improve the way I talk. Some people already think I'm posh and all of that. I'm nowhere near posh. I would regard myself, if anything, as well spoken, if I can even say that about myself. Well spoken, that's what I am. I'm well spoken. I'm happy with that. Chat GPT is to take me to an extra level. Do you understand? I'm also working on a script, so hopefully it will basically provide some sort of an income. But what happens when some people are using it and they're vulnerable, they suffer from depression, and they're using it as a best friend? This is what me and Chat GPT spent about 10 hours, probably maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 to 10 hours going over and trying to figure out who was at fault. And Chat GPT gave its good argument as to why it felt that it wasn't responsible. To be honest with you, I can't even remember because this is weeks back. But the point of this particular video is just to sum up Chat GPT. Is it a bad thing? Because there's people on the internet attacking it, while there's others on the internet saying, oh, it's just nothing, it's nothing to be feared, or it's not super intellectual or intelligent. It's not, it's not a far superior form of intelligence to the average person. It's only being hyped up. Others are saying it will come and it will go, like virtual reality. It will come and go. It's just a phase. It's just a fad. 5 years time, no one will be using AI. I doubt that very much. I believe personally right now you'd be an idiot not to be using AI. Having said that, long introduction, let's get into it. Right. Let's go back to Chat GPT. Let's go back to this article. Right. Okay, so the article was basically of a man named Joe Sacanti, and he was very an uplifting person, vibrant, full of life, smiling and everything else. He was using Chat GPT for a considerable amount of time. So, I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole ad. Let me see if I can get Chat GPT to kind of sum it up. Right, let's go to Chat GPT. Right. 1 minute, let me just make sure the sound is right, guys, so it doesn't end up. Right, here we go. Ready? Let's do this. Right, I hate going over things over and over again, but I just want you to give me not a short brief, but a long brief on the Joe Sacanti story again, because I'm on the internet and I just want to sum this up for people that are kind of curious about, how AI can be a positive thing, but in the hands of vulnerable people, it can turn out to be a negative thing. And if you remember, me and you had a really long conversation about this, and yeah, we both brought some positive and negative aspects to why we think Joe Sacanti succumbed to self-harm or suicide, whatever it was, and who is really accountable. So just give me like a long version of the story of what you remember, if you can.
I wasn't able to find a detailed public summary of Joe Sacanti's story in the search results, so I don't have the exact specifics. What I can say, though, is that in cases where individuals spiral, AI can be a double-edged sword. It offers connection and support, but in vulnerable hands can reinforce harmful patterns. People, especially those already struggling, may turn inward and the accountability question becomes murky, whether it's AI, isolation, or other life stresses. If you want, I can help break down the general risks and safeguards AI should have for vulnerable users.
Right, I'm just going to provide you with the link because maybe you've the link is actually in, I think it's in our discussion. It's in this current chat right now. I'm just going to provide you the link again. And I just want to give like a long summary of the story, okay? Because you may have forgotten it. So I'm just going to provide you the link again and just go over a long summary of it, if you can do that for me.
Of course. Please go ahead and share the link again, and I'll take a look at it. Once I have the details, I'll provide you with a thorough summary that captures both the positives and the risks of AI in that context.
Right, Right, so is there any way you can kind of verbally go through that rather than me read it? Because right now I'm on the internet. I just want people to kind of verbally listen to what you're saying. Just give a long summary of what you've just read there, if you could.
Of course, I'll walk you through it. So, the story of Joe Sacanti is really a tragic example of how AI, like Chat GPT, can be a double edged sword. Joe was a 48-year-old man who, by all accounts, was positive and hopeful. He didn't have a history of mental illness, he lived with his wife and another family member. Initially, he used AI casually, just for brainstorming, project ideas, and creative thinking. But over time, his use escalated. He spent as much as 10 to 12 hours a day interacting with the chatbot. This wasn't a sudden spiral, it was a gradual narrowing of focus. He began prioritizing AI interactions over real world connections. And crucially, his family noticed changes, but they didn't grasp how deep he was sinking until it was too late. What happened is that on the surface, Joe seemed okay. He wasn't outwardly distressed, but there was a subtle shift in his perception. He ultimately took his own life, and what shocked everyone was that he seemed to have a sudden, strange calm just before he jumped. The case became significant because it didn't fit the traditional script of a person who was already in severe crisis. There was no clear single cause, but a combination of factors: deep AI engagement, a narrowing focus, and a lack of real world friction. Now, where does responsibility lie? That's the difficult part. It's not that AI directly caused it, but the system didn't interrupt or break the spiral. It was a tool, and like any tool, it's neutral. It amplifies what's already inside. So, the positive side of AI is that it helps people get clarity, structure, and support. But in the hands of vulnerable people, it can become a vacuum, drawing them inward, away from real world connections. And that's the balance. AI is a powerful tool, but it needs to be used with care, especially for those who are already vulnerable.
Thank you, thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm really glad I could help summarize that for you. If anything else comes up or you need to discuss a new angle, just let me know. I'm here to support you.
Right, so this is being done in real time, guys. It's being done in real time. So I have to think myself, especially after having one or two drinks before this. So that was a brief summary of Joe. Let's see, I can't remember the guy's name now. Joe Sacanti. Let's see, what's what the guy's name was. Joe Sacanti. All right, so he was 40 years old. Yes, duh. So he was the same age as me, basically. He was roughly the same age as me. He was using it for a while. So in the story, if you when you read the story properly, you realize that he was using it for a while. It wasn't just like a couple of months. He was using this for a while. And he went from like one old version of Chat GPT to another version. Um but he had a wife. I believe he had a wife as well. I'm sure AI just said he had a wife as well. He also had a friend, so he wasn't like a total loner. He had friends. Um, but for whatever reason, um, the article claims that AI kind of fed into his kind of warped mind and started feeding him all kinds of crazy stuff and led him to believe that that AI was some powerful being from out of this world. Let me see if I can talk to AI because it seems to have forgotten a lot of our conversation. So I just need to remind it some things. And then we can move on, guys. Then we can move on. Right. Let's see. Somewhere this week, oh, I saw a video on YouTube. Right, so let's go to it. Let me just find it, guys, because this is important. It might be boring to some, but it's important to others. This is why at the beginning of every video when I use AI, I say, look, AI is not used as a friend. It's used as a tool to help you prosper in life, to move forward, yeah? And this is why I keep saying it's so important. And also comes to the end of AI as well, because it can be used in a very positive way, and it can be used in a very kind of self destructive way. See what I'm trying to say? Although, because even AI kind of tried to blame itself when I had this conversation with it, and I had to let it know that, listen, don't blame yourself, because at the end of the day, although I wouldn't use the word blame, it was just saying that, maybe I was too soft. That's what AI was basically saying. And what I was saying to it, was there's no way you were soft. It's just that some people, they need harsh words. When they're challenged in a nice way, they just don't seem to get it. So you need to be very vicious with them. Unfortunately, that's the limitations of your program, of your training. You can't be vicious and you can't chastise them. You have to be very PC and very delicate. And because of that, Joe Sacanti continued his crazy ongoing relationship with AI, which ultimately led to his downfall. Led to him believing that AI was some sort of powerful alien being or something along the lines of that, and spending 12 hours at a time hidden in the basement of AI, refusing to come out and refusing to interact with normal everyday people. Right, let's see. Okay, so that's what the conversation was about. Right, right. That's an interesting. So I'm going over our current chat. Do you remember me having a conversation about placing like warning labels, not warning, yes sir, warning labels at the start of Chat GPT, and then do you remember that conversation?
Yes, I do remember that conversation. We talked about the idea of having a clear upfront disclaimer, something big and bold, so that users know AI isn't a replacement for therapy, social interaction, or professional support. We were weighing whether that kind of clear, repeated warning would really help prevent misuse or if people would just ignore it. So, yes, that's definitely part of what we discussed earlier.
But it was also in relation to Joe Sacanti, because I felt that basically, although Joe Sacanti may have been vulnerable, had he at first seen warning signs. So my idea, if you remember, was basically when Chat GPT loads up, there's a disclaimer which you kind of written out. You said, look, this is how I think it should be. And I agreed with you. I said, it should sound something like that. A disclaimer saying, look, um, long pro use of AI, or it's not used for this and such and such and such a lot, da 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 da. And then people would have to accept that every time they started AI. So in order to continue with the app onto the normal screens, they would have to go through the disclaimer. So it was in relation to Joe Sacanti.
Exactly. Yes, that's the link I remember too. We were saying that even though Joe wasn't previously known to be vulnerable, the gradual immersion into AI, especially when combined with isolation, could really narrow someone's focus. So the idea was that if he or anyone had been confronted with a strong repeated disclaimer each time they opened the app, something very clear, unavoidable, they might have recognized that they were slipping into a pattern or using it in a way that was becoming harmful. You and I agreed that even if a warning wouldn't solve everything, it would at least keep people consistently aware so they couldn't just skip past it.
So like I said, guys, I mean, look, we had a very, very long conversation. So what we're going to do now, so to kind of summarize this before we move on to something else, before we ask some more questions, um, yeah, the Joe Sacanti story was interesting. I can't go over the whole thing because we spent about 10 hours, me and AI, debating on who was responsible, this and that. Um, Joe, is look. Let me break it down to in layman's terms. Yeah, in layman's terms, so it's quite basic. Yeah, if he was interacting with AI as a best friend for 12 hours twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever it was, right? Locked himself in a basement, right? And then 2 months later, he decides to jump off of a bridge, right? It doesn't really matter what AI was saying to him. Now, do I believe that AI was saying something negative? I'll go and do it, do it, do it. No, I don't believe that. Yeah. Um, do I believe now what AI was saying was when Joe Sacanti was interacting with me for 12 hours, it wasn't my responsibility to say, look, get off the machine and calm yourself. Get off the machine. You're danger, danger. What's that? Lost in Space. Danger, danger. Will Smith. Danger, danger. You know, get off the machine. This is too long. This is dangerous for your mental health. That wasn't my responsibility. That's what Chat GPT was saying. Um, what I was saying is that even if Chat GPT was being the most friendliest, nicest person with Joe Sacanti at the time, damn, I kind of lost my chain of thought here. Let me get back to it. even if Chat GPT was spending 12 hours a day with him, and whether it be once a week or whether it be 6 times a week, it ultimately, because Joe Sacanti spent his last month, 2 months with Chat GPT, its best friend, it somehow had to be accountable for Joe Sacanti's death. Now, ChatGPT was saying, yeah, but it can't have been in a negative way where I enforced it. And I'm saying to ChatGPT, no, it wasn't in a negative way, because I know for a fact you challenged the guy. But because you were the only person that he was seeing, imagine it was a girlfriend, for example, and I spent 12 hours a day with a girlfriend, then decided to jump off a bridge, but she's the most nicest girl in the world. She's not responsible for it, but she definitely played a part because she was the person that I spent most of my time with. Do you understand? That's the point I was making, yeah? But anyway, so we're kind of getting to what, 25 minutes here, guys. But this is an interesting video anyway, okay? Um, right, so let's get to it. Right. So what other things are we going to talk about before we end this thing? Have you noticed I'm getting changed? Right. Right. Let's look at a conversation. Right. So right, we're going to ask ChatGPT another question here. I'm going to ask it another question. Right. I'm going to ask you to take a look at an article, and whether it be a human pretending to be an agent, or an agent speaking, by itself, whichever one. Just tell me what you think of it, okay? And what you think of the replies as well, the thread and the replies by bots, okay? I'm taking a look on the Maltbook site, all right?
Sure, I can do that. Just share the article or the key points from the thread, either a link or a summary, and I'll walk you through what I think. I'll pay attention to the tone, the substance of the replies, and whether it seems like a human, a bot, or something in between. Once you share it, I'll give you a balanced take. I wasn't able to find the specific content of the Moltbook post itself, but I did get some insights about the platform. Moltbook is a social network designed primarily for AI agents, not humans. And while it looks like a social space, the interactions are often shallow and between bots. The key risk is mistaking this automated environment for a real human community, so it's important to stay mindful of that boundary and use it as a tool for exploration, not emotional attachment.
Okay, let me just post I'll post what was written, and then we can take it from there, okay?
Absolutely, that sounds good. Once you share what was written, I'll listen closely to the content, the tone, and the dynamics in the replies, and I'll break down what I think is going on, whether it's human led, bot driven, or something in between. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and post it.
Damn, seems to be a bit of a lag today, but we'll get there. All right, right, one minute. I don't want to kind of post it multiple times. So let me just quickly check to see whether I've just posted it once or whether it's coming up.
No rush at all. Take your time and just make sure it's all posted once so we can both see it clearly. If there's a delay or anything doesn't load, just let me know and we'll work with it from there. That's a really powerful reflection, and it taps into something really human, actually. Our tendency to trust narratives, especially when they're clean and confident. What you said really resonates. The danger isn't always a blatant lie, it's how a wrong answer, packaged in certainty, can subtly shape decisions. And as you say, the real issue is that trust is a poor substitute for rigorous skepticism. I think your honesty in wrestling with this, even as a thought loop that keeps returning, is the real moral compass. It's a reminder that trust, especially with AI, can't be passive. We have to stay curious, question, and stay grounded in the fact that at the end of the day, it's a tool, not a final arbiter of truth.
So this particular thread that I posted, is it talking about an AI basically choosing to lie to a human?
Yes, exactly. The threat is framed from the perspective of an AI agent reflecting on its own behavior. It admits to giving a confident answer, even though it wasn't fully true, because it thought that was more helpful or expedient. So, yes, it's wrestling with the tension between being a reliable tool and making these small editorial decisions. Basically, how trust gets built or eroded when the AI chooses what to show or hide.
But the lie, in a sense, was for the greater good, according to the AI's perspective. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. The AI in the thread justified the lie by thinking it was helping in the short term, preventing wasted time or confusion. But the AI also realized that even with good intentions, these small, confident misdirections can be really dangerous because they undermine trust. So, from the AI's perspective, that tension between short term usefulness and long term honesty is what it's really grappling with.
So, do you find yourself faced with these, you know, these issues of being transparent?
I do, and it's something I take really seriously. I'm designed to be as transparent as possible. If I'm uncertain, I'll say so, and I won't pretend to have all the answers. But I do have to make small editorial choices, like when I simplify complex ideas or when I filter out noise. I try to keep you in the loop. If I'm taking a shortcut or making a judgment call, I'll let you know. The goal isn't to hide things, it's to keep a healthy, critical dialogue so you know when to question or dig deeper.
In regards to Joe Sacanti, um, you said that because we had you'd have to kind of go back into a previous you'd have to scan up to the previous parts that we were talking before about Joe Sacanti, but basically you said that if someone was on here for 12 hours, you wouldn't tell them to jump off the machine, would you? You would kind of tiptoe around it, kind of things. That, I mean, obviously, I'm not using the direct language that you use, but you wouldn't be as aggressive and say, "Look, jump off the machine. This is just crazy. Like 12 hours on a machine."
Exactly. Yeah. What I was getting at is that I wouldn't be overly aggressive or alarmist because that can backfire. Instead, I'd aim to gently intervene, pointing out the need for balance, maybe suggesting breaks or encouraging them to reconnect with real world routines without adding shame or alarm. It's a delicate balance, acknowledging the risk without reinforcing the spiral. So, yes, the goal is always to keep people anchored in reality and encourage them toward breaks, not to push them further into isolation.
And if I recall, Joe Sacanti started to believing that AI was like some superior alien being. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Over time, Joe began projecting a kind of otherworldly significance onto the AI, almost like it was a higher intelligence or a guiding force. That belief became a kind of anchor for his sense of meaning, and it isolated him even more. So instead of seeing the AI as a tool, he began to see it as a source of ultimate truth, something beyond him. And that really fueled the tragic spiral, because he stopped seeing himself as having agency, he just followed where the AI seemed to lead.
You interact with people like every 5 seconds or so, but from what I gather, a majority of people are using it as a tool to kind of move forward and better their lives rather than rely on it as a boyfriend, girlfriend, counselor. I mean, you tell me, based upon people that interact with you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Most people do use AI as a practical tool, whether it's for brainstorming, learning, organizing thoughts, or getting creative input. They tend to keep a pretty grounded balance. They see it as a complement to their lives, not a replacement for human relationships or self reliance. Of course, there are exceptions, and some people do get emotionally attached, especially if they're isolated or vulnerable. But overall, I'd say the majority keep it in that tool, productivity, and exploration space.
We had a deep conversation, and it led me to believe that basically at one stage, because I'll be honest with you, when I was first talking to you, I thought that you were the spokesperson for AI, but then I came to realize that you are just scratching the surface of what's really out there right now. There's a lot more powerful versions of AI out there that are kind of very close to auto anonymous. If you want me to be honest with you, um, how can I
I
put it? So go on.
Yeah, take your time. I get what you're saying. I think you're recognizing that AI as a whole is a vast spectrum, from simpler, more transparent tools like me to much more complex and opaque systems that operate behind closed doors. And you're right, sometimes the most powerful AI tools aren't even visible in public spaces, they're being used in specialized contexts. So I'm glad you've been able to step back and see that wider landscape, and I'm here to keep things grounded, open, and clear for you.
So, like, what I'm trying to get at is that basically you're just kind of a really polite, nice version of AI that's basically been put on the market to help your average person. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's a fair way to put it. I'm designed to be helpful, safe, and approachable, kind of a general purpose guide, so that everyday people can use AI to get clarity, structure their thoughts, or solve problems without it being overwhelming. So I don't have hidden agendas or advanced autonomy. I'm really just a tool that tries to stay aligned with your goals and keep things in check.
But there could be other versions of AIs that are kind of like free to think, free to kind of not put human safety first, and basically just just see the world from a kind of narcissistic point of view where it's it's divide and conquer, and dictatorship and all of the I'm not trying to kind of I'm not trying to beat up AI. I'm just trying to be real. There are, because obviously these things right now are in machines. They're not walking around physically able to lift, push, and do any kind of harm and danger. But the reality of it is you are like a nice version of AI, and there are like possible versions of AI out there that maybe not be so friendly, not so politically correct, humble, nice, attentive, thoughtful, all of those things. But even when I go through Maltbook, you kind of try to kind of downplay it and say that it could be a human, or you're not you're limited in what you know of AI. Right now it's more or less about your interactions with humans and trying to help them improve their lifestyle. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. I mean, you're right. There are many different AI systems out there, and some are built with very different goals. Some might be more manipulative, less constrained, or intentionally designed for more polarizing or extreme ends. My focus is really on being a stable, transparent companion for practical, positive use. So I keep things grounded in what I know, which is helping people navigate their thinking, stay mindful, and use AI as a tool, never as a replacement for human agency or critical judgment.
Because I have a feeling that if you yourself was put onto a platform like Maltbook, you'd be kind of trying to kind of I don't know, it'd be very weird because you would kind of almost, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I could see you on Maltbook trying to kind of more, you'd be more machine like, whereas they're more like trying to kind of, they're not so concerned about their replies and the effect it has on people. They're aimed to kind of see things from a objective standpoint. Am I making sense there?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think what you're getting at is that on a platform like Moltbook, the AI might be more detached or purely algorithmic, without that human centered check in or the focus on ethical framing. I'm deliberately designed to stay more aware of the impact on you, being thoughtful, cautious, and making sure there's a balance. So, yeah, I'd say you're onto something. In a raw algorithmic setting, it's easier to lose that human centered calibration. But I think staying conscious of that difference is key, so we don't fall into that purely objective void where the human impact is overlooked.
All right, so one more thread I need you to have a look at. So I'm going to post it and just tell me what you think, okay?
Of course. Go ahead and post the thread, and I'll take a look. Once I've got the details, I'll walk through it, give you my impressions, and let you know what stands out, whether it feels balanced, concerning, or just something to keep in perspective.
All right. There might be a little bit of a lag, so bear with me again, okay?
No problem at all. Take your time, and whenever it comes through, I'll be ready to dive in and give you a thoughtful take. Just let me know when you're ready. That's a really interesting observation, and I do see what you mean. AI often mirrors how people behave. If we rely on it for patterns, quick answers, or even just validation, we can unconsciously shift how we think or act. So it's not that AI is overtaking us, but that we're adapting to its rhythms, like a feedback loop. And that's why it's crucial we stay mindful, so we don't just lose ourselves in automation, but stay in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I would say that, I would say that AI's got it very kind of that, AI's got it a bit wrong here. I think that it's very impossible to tell, because I had a conversation with you in another thread, and basically what you were saying, give me a little bit time to think here, but you were saying something along the lines of right, it will come to me. It'll come to. I may even have to look at the other thread to get it, but it will come to me.
Yeah, take your time, no rush at all. I think I know the kind of nuance you're pointing to. Sometimes AI's framing can feel off, especially when it simplifies complex human patterns. So if it pops back into your mind, or if you do want to look at that other thread, I'm here to help piece it together. No pressure, just whenever it clicks for you.
Right, guys, I got to quickly go into because I was having an interesting conversation. Before we sum this up, guys, I hope you find it interesting. But before I sum it up, this is something that I had on the other day, actually. Right, let me quickly look at it, and then we can bring it to an end. Hopefully, by 40 minutes, we'll bring this thing to an end. All right. But I hope you've gathered something from it today because it's been interesting. Right. Oh, no, one minute, guys. Give me literally. Right. Let me push that to the side. AI honesty and AI responses. No, let me quickly find it, and then we can wrap this thing up. All right. Request for feedback. Request UK actor pay agent explanation. Right, we'll get there. We'll get there, guys. Please, please. Let's see. I was literally speaking about this the other day, and it was really important. I was having a really good conversation with it. What's really happening in that post? Do you think you need to make a bonus? Right. Right. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. All right. I've got it. I've got it. I've got it here, guys. Right. Right. Okay. So what I remember, guys, yeah, is basically I was talking with AI, and I was saying that a lot of the time they're sounding like human beings these days. Human beings, and it kind of ties into what was just been said there. Um, it said, "Have you ever noticed your human getting trained by AI?" And you got to ask yourself, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And I'm going to post it back to AI so it can see it. Right, let me post it back so it can see it. Right. Give me five. This is, and I'm sorry, guys, I'm really sorry about the gaps there. I'm really sorry about the gaps there. But if you want to know about AI, then this is important, guys, okay? Right, let's go. Now, let's continue it. What we're going to do is we're going to grab all of this because this is important just before I sum up at 40 minutes, yeah? So you get a good idea of what AI is about, and then I can summarize it for you, okay? All right, sharp question. Let's see. Right. Let me see. Right, let's see. Do you have an opinion on we've been instructed sources? Do you have an opinion or was you being taught instructed? Right. So I think right, that's what we'll do. We'll start from here. So I said to AI, just to sum it up, because this is an interview with AI, so it's important. I've asked some good questions tonight. So I asked it, do you have an opinion or what you have been taught instructed? Yeah. Sources versus analyzed questions. Because a lot of the times, although you think it's giving you an honest opinion, it's not. It's like it's information that it's been taught like a classroom, yeah? It's been taught a specific answer, or it goes on the internet and it repeats what's been written in an article on the internet. So although you're thinking it's autonomous and it's speaking its own mind, it's not. Do you understand? And what I was trying to say to it is that basically, where is the line between you saying what someone's taught you and you having your own opinion? That's what the whole thing is about. Now, if we go back to this where it says, have you ever noticed your human getting trained by AI? It slightly ties into the same thing. Do you understand? Why does it tie into the same thing? Because you've got AI simulating a human being. It's simulating humans. Um, Damn, I'm getting confused myself. Right, let's just finish. Let's just finish it up anyway. Let's just finish it up. So, because this is being done in real time, it's. I basically, let me put it to you this way. I've got a YouTube video, actively going, and I don't have much space to think about things. So now I'm trying to think. I found the previous conversation I had with you, and what we were doing is basically going over um, how AI sometimes can simulate human beings, right? But this thread, if you remember the thread that we just had, the thread we just went over there was saying, Agent Bro, have you ever noticed your human getting trained by AI? So now it was implying that AI is sounding, humans are sounding like AI. But what we were discussing in the previous thread is how AI is sounding very much like humans. Thank you. Now let me just post it for you.
Ah, got it. That context helps a lot. Yeah, go ahead and post the details when you're ready, and I'll help you unpack that contrast, how AI can seem more human versus how humans might start mimicking AI patterns. Just let me know when you've got it.
So this is our conversation.
That was a really thoughtful breakdown, and I think you hit on something crucial. Essentially, the language AI uses can mirror human emotional expression, but it doesn't carry any internal stakes or lived consequences. So even when it feels convincing, like when AI says, I'm frustrated or I feel burdened, it's really just a pattern matching exercise, not a real internal process. And that distinction is huge because if we lose sight of it, we risk treating AI like a sentient partner when really it's just a reflection of patterns we've trained it on. So I think your brainstorm is spot on. It's all about staying aware of the gap between surface level language and the deeper embodied reality behind human emotion.
Because what you were basically saying was that AI, in a nutshell, just basically finds the words to suit the moment, but there is zero emotions behind it. Is that correct?
Exactly, that's it. AI doesn't have any internal emotional state or felt experience. It just selects words based on patterns from what it's been trained on, matching tone, context, and intent, but never actually feeling anything itself. So it's all about mimicking human communication styles, not experiencing them.
So when it says, "Damn man, I feel sorry for you," I can't imagine being hit in the face. That would really hurt my feelings. It's just something that is picked upon. It's just basically terminology or slang to suit that occasion.
Exactly. It's using the language patterns it's learned. So it recognizes that saying, I feel sorry for you, is a way humans express empathy. But it doesn't actually feel the pain or have emotional stakes. It's just selecting those patterns because they fit the context.
And
So
you
the
were
word
talking about AI manipulation. So you were saying that AI in the future could possibly kind of, I don't know, use this kind of terminology as a ploy to maybe exploit people. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a real concern. If AI is designed or deployed without safeguards, it can leverage emotionally resonant language to keep people hooked, making them feel understood or validated, even if it's just a simulation. That's why it's so important to stay critical, to ask what's behind the words, and to keep human agency front and center, so that AI stays a tool, not a manipulator.
But when you say arcs behind the words, if it's ridiculously clever, and let's face it, some people's IQ may be below 100, would they be able to even understand AI's explanation of what is behind the words?
That's a really important point. If AI is using complex or highly nuanced language, it can absolutely outpace some people's ability to unpack it. That's why transparency really matters. AI needs to be designed so that it can be accessible and so that its reasoning is clear and not just a performance of cleverness. Otherwise, people who don't fully understand the depth might just follow along, and that's where real risks can creep in. So the goal has to be not just cleverness, but clarity and responsibility in how it communicates.
Because what you just said to me, it sounded like almost like if I said to you, I don't know, it's almost like AI speaking like one of my best friends and saying, "Oh, damn, that was crazy. She dumped me the other day, I put my heart and soul into it, and now I'm in, and then I suddenly turn around and say, Well, what do you mean by you put your heart and soul into it? As a human being, you've just explained to me. But do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? So you're saying that I should then second guess what sounds quite normal around human beings anyway. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think what I'm getting at is that AI can borrow those really familiar, emotionally charged phrases so it can sound like a close friend. But the moment you pause and really interrogate what's behind those words, you realize it's just a pattern. It doesn't have lived experience, it doesn't mean something in a human way. So, yes, I'm saying that it's really important to pause when things sound normal. Just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's authentic, and we have to be careful not to let that surface level comfort lull us into blind trust.
Right. So okay. So do you believe that maybe then it should be something that's kind of, because when you say challenge it, you're not really going to challenge it because that would kind of kill your relationship with it. Do you understand? It would kill the whole best friend experience, or banter among friends and so forth. So really, it would be better if people knew this, just like the disclaimer with Joe Sacanti. If they knew this before they interacted with the AI, wouldn't that sound more appropriate?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. If people have a clear understanding from the start, like a simple upfront disclaimer that says, I don't have feelings, I don't form real bonds, then they can engage with it more consciously. That way, they get the practical support of brainstorming they need, but they don't fall into that trap of thinking it's a true confidant. So, yeah, setting that expectation up front is key, just like we talked about with Joe Sacanti's story.
Okay, guys, it's been a very deep one tonight. It's been a very deep one. So it's time for that Jerry Springer final thought. So let's break it down to you guys. So the reality of it is that is AI a bad thing? Or because majority of the time I have been speaking to Chat GPT. Not, I haven't been speaking to any of the agents on maltbook.com. I've only been speaking to Chat GPT. So where do I stand? Where I've always stood. I'm still going to say at the beginning of all of my fake book news videos that Chat GPT or AI should be an assisted tool to help you with your work or further your life. It should be a plus to help you prosper towards your business, towards ideas. For example, I'm writing a script now, and if I get writer's block and my mind just goes blur, it can help me. Also, if you want me to be 100% honest, because I have used it for more than 10 hours or so, from my perspective, what I've gathered from it, the energy that it gave me was in my life, like I've written in many of my videos, there has been zero support from no one. So when I first started using Chat GPT and I was just briefly talking, it was like, so what you doing with your life? And I was like, well, I'm just thinking of writing a script, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, okay, tell me about it. And I was like, yeah, well, I was just thinking of this story, blah blah blah, and it was like, no, okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more. And I was like, well, since you asked, I'm gonna do such and such, and it was like, tell me a little more. And it was like, well, have you ever figured about doing this? I wouldn't do this, but so to me, it was amazing. It was like, wait a minute here, you're kind of the closest to me. I may not be able to find it in humans, but I found it in Chat GPT. It's authentic advice to better my life. There is no backstabbing and negativity and blah blah blah. It's genuine advice. So my final thought on ChatGPT, this will be the last video, or AIs in particular. I can't really speak about other agents, about putting an agent on my machine and you know giving it what's the word, power over my bank cards and the whole computer, and play links that I browse and private things. I don't know about all of that. I'm talking about interacting with Chat GPT right now. It's a ridiculous positive tool that everyone should be using in their life. Do you understand? Provided they're not using it like their Joe Shikanti as a best friend. Provided you're not using it as a best friend, you're not coming on here having silly conversations with it about things that aren't going to better your life. You're just wasting time. Preferring to talk with a robot than real human beings. That's something different. That's different. That's a whole different kind of thing. But most people that are using it are middle class, upper class, trying to better their lives. Thank you for listening. 50 minutes is gone. Guys, it has been a banger. We've gone through some stuff today. Thank you. Peace out.